Let's talk about police unions who seem to support President Donald Trump overwhelmingly. Now, who wants to take this one?
Tammy, I think that should be a law preventing police unions to contribute to politicians.
I felt the same way. I said the same thing.
I agree.
Oh my goodness.
In local governments, developers cannot give money to councilmen because they have to vote on their projects. It's not the law in California, but I'm a lawyer. I know that the doctor's lobby is very powerful. I know the lawyer's lobby is very powerful, but I also know that the police lobby is powerful. And I recommend to all of the voters, even in California, look at who is supporting the candidates or who is supporting a ballot measure, and you'll see which way to vote. In the DA's race, Tammi Mac, you'll see that Jackie Lacey has gotten more than $1 million from police unions up and down the state. You'll see that George Gascon does not accept a single dollar from a police union because
does he not accept it, or wait, hold on now, Attorney Douglas. Does he not accept it, or is he not getting it?
He is not accepting it because he knows about the corrupting influence of police unions. You know about that corrupting union, that influence, the corrupting nature of that. You can't have the fox guarding the hen house, sister. Even you know that's wrong, fundamentally. And so fundamentally, the unions prevent there being some sort of a law or regulation, just like you have in LA. Developers can't give money to council people that are running because there's a conflict of interest. Similarly, police unions should not be giving to district attorneys or attorney general races at a minimum, because in every other circumstance, they work together hand in hand.
Yeah, I don't think unions should endorse any candidates at all, to be honest, especially when they're run or paid for by the government. I don't think that's a good, even teachers, even nurses. I just don't think unions should endorse candidates. It's a very bad precedence that we've had. Reverend Harris, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long-standing issue when you talk about unions, particularly police unions, buying district attorneys and buying attorney generals, and because they know that if they buy these individuals, then they have their commitment that when things happen, they don't have to worry about prosecutions. They don't have to worry about people get off. And it's because of the deals that are made. And so certainly I agree. I think that people in California and people in every state need to look at options in regard to policy that addresses this conflict of interest that I believe is there, because it is, to me, the same conflict of interest as a developer giving a city council member money. You are making a deal and you're getting an agreement so that when something happens, you can get off because you've already made a deal during the election, and the next election is coming. So the district attorney, the attorney general of the state, the district attorney of the county always is looking to the next election. And what happens is they often think about the money that they would want to receive, that they wouldn't want to miss out, and ultimately they would want to keep their commitments to the people that are giving them money, and that would include a large portion of the police unions.
So
Tammy, I would not have a blanket prohibition against unions. As a civil libertarian, the small workers banding together and unionizing has made the workplace safer, and only because of union influence and the political use of that union's collective power are the workplaces across America safer now from the corrupting power of corporations. So unions do have a value in our political system. Police unions, however, when they are influencing district attorney or attorney general races, I think that clear conflict should be looked at and addressed.
Okay. The show is about police reform, but activists are saying, skip all that police reform, defund the police. So wherein lies the difference in police reform and defunding the police, Reverend Harris?
I really, really, really am glad that you went here, because this is a big discussion. happening across the country in light of the killing of George Floyd. You know, I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with the family of George Floyd. Went there with the brother of George Floyd, and met with many of the the activists about some legislation that we got passed here in California, AB 392. But one of the things that I really have come to terms with is that I am not for, and I have been in this for a long time now, a long while, and particularly in the last decade. And I'm not for defunding the police. I have been a reform advocate. I have fought for families who have faced injustices. Stephon Clark in Sacramento, Alfred Alongo in San Diego. I've stood with families across this country. But I am not for defunding the police. And here's why, Tammy. Because when you talk about defunding the police, you have to talk about where is the funding going to go. And what I've heard a lot of, you've seen a lot of energy in the streets, which is really good. It's all kind of started to die down, which is really concerning because this always kind of happens. There's this uprise and then there's this downfall of people out in the streets. But certainly
we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're getting tired.
Right. But certainly the movement is about defunding the police. And the concern that I raise is, where is the money going to go? If you're going to defund the police, let's invest it in prevention. When you talk about defunding the police, though, you hear a lot of people saying, let's defund the police, they defund the police, but they have no plan about where to redirect resources.
No,
I don't think we need to defund the police. I think that we need to invest in prevention. And to me, that is to really put, invest in the communities that need the funding, invest in the institutions that do the direct work in the streets that are on the ground, and redirect resources.
So, can we call it redirect the police resources as opposed to defunding the police? Would you support redirecting police funds?
Tammy, I like to use the phrase reimagining police funding, because defunding the police is poor messaging. As a lawyer with messaging, I know if you're explaining, you're losing. And whenever someone talks about defunding police, that's like abolish ICE. It brings too much easy attack from the other side. But reimagining the use of police funds and redirecting, like we've done in Los Angeles, of some of the funds for the police to social services, focusing on the why as opposed to the what. Why is there the need for police reform? Because police officers don't do social work well. So if someone is calling because someone is having a mental episode, there should be a psychological evaluation team instead of a policeman with a gun who's a trained killer. And some of the funding should be directed so that we can bring those people in that situation to that team in areas of need. I think that reimagining would be better messaging and a better chance to get that conversation positive in the right direction.
We're going to reimagine this. We're going to reimagine this conversation when we return and move on. Still talking about police reform, defunding the police, reimagining the police. I've come up with a whole new term: redirecting the police's funds. So we're going to reimagine it all when we return on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul.